Hey there, Vlad here. Before we jump to our favorite kind of amp talks of 2021, just want to say thank you for an awesome year, and I hope you enjoy this collection of amp news we covered over the year. We picked some of our favorite stories and just cool amps we talked about. And as always, all the links and ways to support what we do in the show notes as well. Have fun. Cheers. Alright, so one of the things that I guess happened this week was like Friedman released a new amp, and I'm pretty sure it's called the Mini BE, not BE Mini, which would be also kind of fun.
No.
But yeah, Mini
the Mini BE head.
Yeah, head. Good point. Which basically is like this 30-watt mini thing that produces the BE sound. Like, I guess that's the most famous amp. What do you think? Is that the best known amp?
I would say it's the most famous Friedman amp these days. And I think for me, and I think for quite a lot of other guitar players that I know, the BE 100 Deluxe head, the newest version of that amp, is one of the dream amps that you'd love to own because it just can do everything, and it costs, I think, about $4,000, $5,000 or something like that. So it's the best of the best, and it's something that if you win the lottery, you might consider going for, or if you have a lot of disposable income. But yeah, the BE is probably the most famous. For me, as someone who plays a little bit cleaner, I also think about the Dirty Shirley as being a great amp. I have the pedal as well. But yeah, the BE, the brown eye, I believe BE stands for.
Yes.
Yeah, classy. Keeping it classy.
Yes, exactly. So this amp is basically 30 watts. I think Dave Friedman mentioned on, was it the Sweetwater's video, where he basically said that it's kind of like the BE pedal plus like a Class D power amp and some tweaks. And that's the amp. It's what was the price? 300?
In Europe, it's going to be, I think, 350 euros or something. So yeah, if you consider what the pedal costs. Yeah, I just want to say, by the way, I think it's an excellent idea for an amp, and it looks amazing. I think mini amps are they're kind of a novelty, and this is a novelty as well. But what an awesome idea for a present for someone who's right now just sat at home and wants a Friedman amp, and for $350 or whatever, you can get this mini version. I mean, the pedal is 230 euros, I think, over here on its own. So add 100 euros for a 30-watt Class D amp and this beautiful little package, this mini Friedman amp, because it really looks like a proper amp that got shrunk. And it's a super cool idea. I'm a real fan of it.
Yeah, I like it. And I also really appreciate the simplicity, just tone controls and the speaker out on the back, and there's also an effects loop, which I think is a nice, cool detail. I know Hughes and Kettner sent me those Mini Amps Nano series or something, and I think half of the comments I got on that were like, it's good, I wish it had an effects loop. People want the effects loop, so Friedman delivers.
Yeah, I think having an effects loop is a great advantage.
Yeah.
And a major disadvantage for the amp companies that don't include an effects loop on a head like this, especially if there's no built-in reverb, because I think that's the main thing that people are looking for there. Yeah, I mean, for amps like the H&K Spirit Nanos and the Orange Tiny Terror and some of the other tiny amps out there, this is going to be some major competition.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also what's his name? One of the guys that always demos Friedmans is a studio guy.
Michael
Nielsen?
Yes.
Yeah, so
he has a great channel.
Yeah. And in his Mini BE video, he actually mentioned that there's not a fail-safe thing, but you don't need to have this amp plugged into a cabinet. I think you can even like run from the speak out into your audio interface and then throw in an impulse response basically. So it's also like a great recording amp. And I think like
exactly. You don't need a speaker.
Yeah. And that makes it even more fun because I love the idea of having like small amps on your desktop and just record right from there. Like plug it in, you're good to go. And there's still like, I would guess there's still dynamics happening, and like those mini amps nowadays, they also feel good to play, and I like that a lot. Something that like. It's something I'm missing when going digital, like when I plug into a computer and use a plugin. I'm not getting that same thing. So yeah, this thing sounds exciting. Like I hope to be able to try it out at some point.
Me too. I mean, of course, if you like clean tones, it's nothing for you because you can hear on all the demos, even with the gain all the way down, it's still, pretty crunchy. But who's buying a Friedman BE to play clean? I think for what it does, it's amazing, and I would also love to try one at the earliest opportunity.
Yeah,
I guess in Europe we'll be waiting a long time compared to America, where they already seem to have it. And if I look on the websites of the stores over here, it says available in a few months.
Yeah.
So who knows when we'll get to see one?
Yeah, that's the reality of products being like US products coming to Europe. It just takes time. But
that's another question. Do you think that Mini BE is made in America? Because that's something which is missing from all the texts. It's not written on the back of the amp, so I assume it's not.
Most likely
I don't know.
not.
I would love to know if it was. I'm pretty sure if it was, it would say made in America on the back, and it like all their other products, but it doesn't say that. So
yeah,
but it's clearly been left out of all the marketing blurb and all the information on the website. It doesn't say what the country of origin is. So
yeah. Weird.
On the back of the amp, you have the Friedman logo and the little Friedman company text, but it doesn't say made in the USA on it. So if anyone's got one and knows where it was made, let us know. Not that it affects the quality of it for me. I've worked for companies that have built in America, Europe, China, Asia, wherever. So I don't think that where something is built is necessarily reflective of quality automatically, but it would just be interesting to know.
Yeah, I think there's like a rule in the EU that if you sell here, you need to tell the origin or like where it's manufactured. So maybe the EU versions will actually have that. Who knows?
And maybe that's why it's taking longer to get some over here. That would be interesting. Yeah. Interesting thought. Yeah.
To me, what's exciting about this is also the fact that this means there will be more amps coming, and like I personally prefer Dirty Shirley maybe a bit more, or even the JJ amp, which is a bit kind of dark and thicker sound. And like I've been fortunate enough to play a lot of those amps, and I think Dirty Shirley is a bit more in my ballpark. And my guess would be that will probably be the second amp they'll put out. So
imagine the whole Friedman lineup could appear as mini amps, and how cool would that be? And because they're part of the boutique amp distribution banner, does that also mean that we might see some of the other brands coming out with mini heads just like this? Imagine a tiny Soldano. Imagine the tiny Tone King. The options there, the possibilities are almost endless, and that would be fantastic. If it's pedals plus power amps as well, imagine companies like Wampler. Could you have like a Wampler Pantheon amp, which is basically the circuitry from that pedal, which I love, with a Class D power amp stuck to it, and that's another option for an amplifier. I don't know if it is, but that would be fantastic. I mean, suddenly we'd have an oversaturated amp market, even more so than it normally is at this moment in time, but still, that would be super cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it just makes sense to build those on so many levels, because not a lot of people are able to afford the big heads, and like even I think it just it's a bit more than a pedal, sure, but I think you get the whole package because you get the amp that you can place on your cabinet or on your desk or whatever, and it's one of those things, like something that Blackmagic, the company I used to do the live streams and stuff like that, they do, where they create these kind of entry level products, and they have this path where you gradually upgrade to a bigger and more expensive things, and this is a great step towards that. I think that it's smart from the business perspective as well. But one thing we missed last week was Fender Tonemaster Super Reverb. Let's have it here on the screen as well.
And that was a big thing to miss because it's a huge amplifier. It's a 4x10.
Literally and figuratively as well. First of all, if you don't know what the Fender Tonemaster range is, it's basically it looks like a Fender amp, but it has like digital things inside. It doesn't have tubes. No, it doesn't have tubes at all. It's like Fender has modeled their own amps, basically. The idea is to create an amp that looks like a real Fender in every sense, but it's lightweight, has some cool digital wizardry as well in it, and apparently the response for these has been great. And I think this is the third amp in the range. So there's was Deluxe Reverb that I put out first, and then there's a twin.
Yeah,
and now
exactly.
There's a Super Reverb, which is a freaking 4x10 combo. But because it's a digital one, it only weighs 16.33 kilos, which is something in pounds. But 16 is very manageable for a big combo like that.
Absolutely. And it's a solid pine enclosure as well. So would you consider that with all the speakers in it as well? It's a very, very nice thing to be carrying from your car into the gig in one hand, pretty much.
Yeah.
The thing that I've been seeing a lot on the forums that I read about these amps, people are very divided on them, and some people absolutely love them and some people don't. And that's kind of normal, but these really seem to be divisive. And the one thing that lots of detractors seem to be saying is that these Tonemaster amps, they're like a modeling amp, but they only have one model.
Yeah.
You know? And I kind of understand that, yes, but I don't think these are aimed at people who want, a Quad Cortex or a Kemper or something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're aimed at people who want to have a genuine Fender amplifier. They know and love the old Volve tube amps of yore. They want to have them. They want to have those sounds. They want to have those experiences, but they don't want to have the ear-splitting, neighbor-angering volume levels. They don't want to have amps that weigh 30, 40 kilograms, and they want also the option to be able to play it at a low level and plug it into their computer as well to record. They want a Fender amp in 21st century stylings, and for me that's exactly what these are. And I will say that I haven't played any of them yet, but I also can't wait to try them out, especially this one, because 4x10 amps are quite rare anyway, and this one is probably going to have a massive girthy sound to it, and exciting.
Yeah.
Well done, Fender, for doing it.
Yeah. This is one of the few digital amp things where I'm really on board as from the idea standpoint already. Though based on the few videos I've seen, there's been a few things that they some of the drive pedals, I think with the Deluxe Reverb they put out first, didn't sound good. There was something going on with the modeling where it wasn't that good. But apparently, I think I saw Phil McKnight's video after the first big update to one of those amps, and it just got way better after that. And that's the cool thing. They might not get everything right the first time, but you can update the amp because it has digital brain in there. So that's cool. And
exactly.
also, I think 4x12 by 10 is incredibly unpractical. It must sound amazing because it's such a huge amp, but as you mentioned, carrying that around ain't gonna happen, not with my back at least, because that thing would probably be 40-50 kilos easily, and this is 16 kilos, and you can actually dial it to 0.5 watts if you want to. So
exactly.
And run an XLR from it as well with caps in.
Yeah, so it's perfect for home use, for studio use. And I've also heard people saying that they've played it alongside originals, alongside tube amps as well, and this is a range of amps that sounds and also feels like you're playing the real thing.
Mm.
And those are obviously Fender fans who are saying that, and I haven't tried it myself, but again, if they can manage that, if they can pull it off, and if you get that genuine direct feel of playing an amp in a room, then it's going to be a winner. What do you think about the price? This one is £1,300, I think, in the article. So that's about 1,500 euros, maybe.
Yeah, that's quite a lot, to be honest, because, I mean, we're still talking about a digital amp. But then again, 4x10 means that like 4 speakers just add to the price quite a bit already.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like if I would need one of these, like if I would get one of these, I would probably get like the deluxe reverb one or maybe a twin.
Yeah.
Not this one. Yeah. I think, yeah. It's probably one of those amps where you need to go to the store first. You're going to try it, and then you might be like, man, I just need to get one of these. And then the price doesn't matter anymore because it's practical, but you still get like that amp.
Yeah.
You get it, like,
what do you think about the people? What do you think about the people who are saying that for the same price you could actually get the real tube thing, especially if you went used?
Sure, you probably could, but you couldn't do the things with those that you can do with this one. With this one, like if you're a gigging musician, you can have like you can use the speakers on the amp as your monitor. Like you can place it, like angle it towards your ears, place it somewhere like on a box or something like that, and use that for monitoring. But you can also send an XLR to the front of house, and like you get the best of both worlds, basically. Types of things that you cannot do with the old amp. I would guess this is a bit more worry-free as well. Like if it's Fender, so it's probably well built. Like no need to worry about tubes or anything like that when you're gigging. And those are like really annoying. Those are something that you would actually worry about, like if you're traveling a lot and you're loading up and unloading the gear, and the tube sockets can break, the tubes themselves can break. If you live in a country like Finland, where it's cold like 70% of the year, like when you unload something from a van or something, like everything is super cold, and then you need to wait a little bit before it warms up before you can actually like fire up them, and otherwise you're like in danger of breaking the tubes because of the temperature changes and stuff like that. This is just so much more worry-free compared to that one. In many senses, definitely. At least. But
yeah, I mean, you certainly don't have to worry about tubes breaking, that's for sure. I do wonder what it would be like if one of these amps were to break. I mean, I guess a local tech couldn't fix it in the same way that they could fix a tube amp, but, you know, these amps, they shouldn't be breaking, and I guess, you know, Fender has a decent warranty scheme, so you would be able to get it swapped out.
Yeah, most likely. This looks so good.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I really wish that, well, local dealers close to me have started to open up again, so I can go back to music stores now, but I don't know of any who have, you know, the complete Tonemaster range. I would really like to go and check the three out next to each other and experience the differences, and hopefully also against one or two of the original tube amps.
Yeah, true. I need to see, like, there is a local Fender dealer here. I just, like, last time I was there, I was just shopping for basses, so I completely forgot to check the amps. But this got me intrigued. Like, there's also a thing, like, compared to a modeling unit, like a Quad Cortex or Helix or anything like that, you get the physical amp, you get the looks and the vibe compared to those. And if you just use one sound anyway, this would be awesome.
I would be interested also to take a pedal board there and do the pedal test, because you know, as you've said, if they don't take pedals well, then that's going to be a bit of an issue. But you know, generally for me, Fender amps are very good pedal platforms, but because this is a new thing, a digital thing, it might not. You know what? The local Fender dealer to me has both of the others in stock. I might have to get on the road and check those out. They have the Deluxe Reverb and they have the Twin as well. Interesting.
If you end up doing that, let us know. I'm really interested to hear.
Yeah, I will.
How they feel. But yeah, really, really cool release. Obviously, in Fender's own video, it sounded absolutely amazing. But then again, it's Fender's own video. Looking forward to seeing some like more independent reviews. Let's move on to Bogner Ecstasy Mini. Did I even spell it correctly? I'm not sure. We'll find out soon.
You did.
Good me. Boom. And you have some personal experience on this thing, as we're going to prove on this video that we're going to play on mute here. Look, there is Rich. He's
two handsome guys checking out an amp there.
Yeah, there's two Riches in this video right now, and then there's also Victor, who's a friend of ours from Rescue Studios / Rescue Gear. And yeah, based on the short video you guys put out, it sounds good. It just sounds really good.
Yeah, it's a really good amp, and I was surprised at it a little bit because the article which you just flashed up very briefly is misleading, because the Ecstasy is not just a high gain amp, it's an extremely versatile amplifier with a bunch of different channels and options. And most famously, Steve Lukather played one on many, many massive hit recordings. People like Steve Vai have played them as well.
Yeah.
And most people, like I said, associate Bogner with high gain. But for me, this amp, despite being one channel, is a lot more than that. It does nice cleans, it does light crunches, and it goes all the way through to pretty heavy. But it's also not like, it's not really a modern metal amp or anything like that for me. It doesn't do super tight, heavy stuff. But there you go. There's already a bunch of different videos from different people showing it from sort of different angles and perspectives. But yeah, just to talk about this amp without any other context, it's €300 or $330. It's got a 30-watt Class D power amp attached to it. So that's at 16 ohms, and it's going to be pretty loud. You could probably do small shows with it. You could play with a drummer, rehearse for sure. And it has a bunch of different sounds in it, and it sounds great. And yeah, for that price, it's not much more than you would pay for some boutique distortion pedals. And this is now added to the Friedman BE Mini range, which we've already seen. And these companies all form part of the boutique amp distribution company, and they've recently started a customer brand sort of portal for that called Miniamp. So if you go to miniamp.com, you can see all the brands grouped together. And there is the third one coming, September the 23rd. That one's coming out. And that is going to be a really high gain amp, that one that's coming. I'm not allowed to say what it is yet, but yeah, if you Google it, you can see what it is because it's on the internet already anyway. And there's a couple more I found out about at 42 Gear Street, which are coming next year, which are going to be really cool. So exciting things coming from the Miniamp company. I mean, obviously it's all made in China. It couldn't be made in America for that price. But in terms of Christmas presents for guitarists or just, another amp option for us, you might say, Vlad, you do a lot of production stuff. I want that Bogner sound in my studio. €300 later, you've got one of these and it will absolutely do the job because you can plug it straight into your recording gear as well. No problem. Very, very cool.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned it, for 30 watts, it's loud enough for a lot of rehearsals, I'm going to say. I had a question about it that I just forgot, but it's just one channel with few mini switches, right?
Yeah, it's got 4 different switches on it. So it's got the Variac switch, which is, the Van Halen thing, which sort of cuts the volume a bit, gives you a bit more gain. It's got a gain switch to plus or minus the gain. And it's got a couple of different EQ-based switches, which off the top of my head, I forget slightly. But the one's a pre-EQ, I think, and the other one is... it's a mid-boost or cut, the other one. So it's a very, very versatile head.
Nice.
You know what would be possibly even better would be if they had the option to attach a foot switch to it, so all that stuff was foot switchable. That would be amazing. But I think that's not what this amp is about, It's about
Yeah, I was
being this
just about
super
to
cool,
ask whether-
super tiny little thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to ask whether you could like foot switch anything. But then again, all of that adds price, size, and so on. And that, as you mentioned, it's kind of
Yeah, exactly.
that's kind of not the idea of this thing anyway. So, and yeah, there's even like an effects loop. Really cool. I like this series. Hopefully, I'll get to try this out. And as you mentioned, like we'll probably end up doing some sort of like Christmas shopping list thing later this year, and I could see these being on the list because they're like, imagine like getting like a box on Christmas or like a birthday present or anything like that. My birthday is in December as well, so like those two kind of always come together. Like Christmas and my birthday, they're less than 2 weeks apart, so it's all like my present season is December, and then it's all dark from there for the next 11 months again. So I'm just kidding, but yeah, like that box, and then you get an amp instead of like a pair of socks and something like that's really cool. So yeah, and as you mentioned, there's more to come apparently. I have my like guesses what the next one will probably be, or the next ones, I should say.
Okay.
But,
Do you want to guess right now?
I'm pretty sure there will be a Soldano one. There just has to be one at some point. They would be stupid not to make one. Let's put it that way. And then there will be the Dirty Shirley one, because that exists as a pedal as well. And I'm pretty sure that will be an amp that a lot of people will want to get as well. Because these are like, the BE Mini is that kind of high gain, not like a brown sound, but it's like a Marshall type of thing on like steroids, and a lot of steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
And this goes for more like, like maybe in like a Van Halen tone type of thing. So like the Dirty Shirley would be perfect as the third amp, and then the Soldano as well. And I think I'm gonna say somebody from Boutique Amp Distribution might have like at least Womple has like Soldano pedals already, and because they're kind of putting a lot of the pedal technology into these. That would be my guess. You, by the way, don't have to like tell me whether I'm right or wrong, because you might be contractually obligated not to say anything.
Yeah, I've just been looking neutrally into the camera while you've been speaking. So there you go. But actually thinking about it, Boutique Amp Distribution, they have a bunch of different brands, and you just said something really interesting, that they have lots of different pedal companies too. Imagine if they would start doing this for Wampler pedals. That would be super cool.
Yeah. They could actually like, if we go even further, like not just integrating the drive pedals, but imagine them doing like some sort of like, we're going to dive into the worship thing a bit later, like doing like some sort of worship amp which would have like a clean channel and a drive channel, and then maybe like a built-in delay type of thing, all in one tiny amp.
Yeah, I mean, in this video that we're looking at now, Victor was playing with the Wampler ethereal pedal. You can see it just at the side on the cab there. And that's a very simple but very, very good sounding ambient delay reverb pedal. Imagine a kind of clean platform mini amp with that built in. That would be pretty cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be
the
really,
options
really
there
cool.
are pretty much endless.
Orange Amps of UK has released a Super Chrus 100 amp, which is not a valve amp. And based on the video I watched on our good friend Colin Scott's channel, aka CS Guitars, it's basically the Orange has this kind of pedal board thing. It's not a pedal board amp, but like an power amp that's designed to be used with pedal boards called Pedal Baby. So it's just a 100-watt clean power amp. And I've actually tried that one out at NAMM 2019. That's when it was released. I got to do a video with Orange on that, and it sounded amazing. It feels great to play, like very, very cool dynamics and everything going on with that. And then you can run your pedals into it. So basically this amp is a JFET transistor preamp or like different kind of shades of that preamp, and then that pedal baby power amp as well, according to Colin's video at least. And based on his video, it sounds very, very orange. Orange amps do have their own sound, and
They do.
kind of excited. This is a fairly budget-friendly thing as well. $6.99 in dollars. Just going to quickly check if it's on Thomann already. Super Chrus 100 head. $4.99. That's a very decent price for an amp that's 100 watts. But then it also has like an XLR out that you can run into your audio interface. So that's cool.
Oh, does it? That's good, because
Yeah, it
that's
does.
something which Orange, I think, resisted for quite a long time.
Yeah. It also
So what else
it also
does it
has
have?
a switchable reverb, and there's an effects loop as well. So it has everything. Nice.
Oh, so it's 2 channels, clean and not clean.
That's one way to describe it. Clean and not clean.
Yeah, okay.
Less clean. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Orange amps sound, and this is basically like the drive sounds go for, which is probably the Orange's most popular amp, so the rock reverb sound, and apparently the drive channel goes for that sound, so that's really cool.
Yeah, that
There's
sounds
also a combo
interesting.
version available, and which is, well, obviously more expensive, probably heavy as something, as all the Orange amps are.
Yeah, it won't be that heavy, though, because it's solid state. You know, there's going to be a lot less
True.
weighty stuff like transformers inside the amp. And the combo comes
That's true.
with, I see, a Celestion speaker, a GH12 150. So that's a decent speaker in it as well. That probably sounds pretty good. I mean, solid state amps have come on in leaps and bounds recently. I mean, I think the foremost among the bunch in the past few years has been the Hughes and Kettner Black Spirit technology, which was exceptionally good when it came out and is still kind of a watermark for lots of other brands. But we've recently seen companies like Quilter, for example, come out with some very affordable, very decent sounding amps, which I haven't played. And the Orange Crush stuff was always good. And now this Super Crush 100 sounds like it's going to be really, really good, because the Orange pedal baby on which this is based is a really great sounding piece of gear and very affordable as well. And to slap this into a 100-watt head or a 100-watt combo is going to be a great solution for people who want to gig with it, but also want to use it at home thanks to the XLR out. Are you familiar with the Orange cab sim technology? Because that's what they're using in terms of IRs when you plug in the XLR.
I don't think I am. I mean, I've had the OMAC teleport for many years, but that's not exactly the same.
No, this might actually be a new thing. They call it Orange's cab sim speaker emulation. So perhaps it's something just explicitly designed for this product, but it better be good.
I wonder if
what
it's
I'm saying.
digital or analog. It doesn't. Well,
it'll be digital.
Based on this article, it's hard to tell. Does it say? Yeah, it just says CapSim on the Thomann website as well. So,
99% of cases that would be digital. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Can you show us the picture of the back of the amp? Can we take a look at that?
Sure. Where's the back? There you go. Yeah,
DI
so
out.
there's... Can we zoom in some?
Balanced out and cab
It's like
sim
you can...
with a ground lift control, I guess. We can't read
I
it.
guess so.
It could switch the cab sim off or on.
Yeah, could be.
It's too blurry. We can't read it.
If you can actually switch the CapSim off, that'd be great. I'm guessing. I'm
Actually,
hoping
I think I just read that it said cab back, and it said open or closed, as if it's emulating a closed or an open back cabinet, which would be kind of an interesting, quite unusual option to offer. But maybe we're reading that wrong, because it's basically impossible to decipher what's in the back of that picture there.
That's true.
Can you see the weight of the amp on this product page that we're looking at?
13.8 kilos. So that's decent compared to...
Yeah, heavier than I expected for a solid state head. Although this is full size, this is not a lunchbox amp size. So 13.8 is doable. I mean, you'd be weighing in at over 20 probably for the full size tube heads with the transformers and everything like that. So
yeah, or if you had the Rockaway 32 combo as I did, that's like plus 30 kilos.
Yeah.
Amazing sounding amp, but my back disagreed with me. So
yeah. The interesting thing about this amp is it doesn't have attenuation.
True.
I wonder if you can play it via the XLR without having a speaker connected. I mean, I guess you can, because that's the feature of most modern amps these days, which are non-tube especially, but it doesn't say, does it?
No, it doesn't, but I think Colin mentioned that in his video, and he also explained really well that with a solid state amp, you don't actually want to run your master that high because it doesn't saturate. It's a clean solid state power amp. So like solid state power amp distortion or like overdrive is not as desirable as on the tube amps.
Well, it depends how good it is. And I mean, there are cascading gain stages in this solid state amp, so it is clearly built to clip into overdrive at some point. I mean, I personally think that...
talking like purely about the power amp section, that is, because like that apparently doesn't sound good if you like really push this amp.
Yeah, well, it definitely doesn't on all the solid state amps, that's for sure. But yeah, I also feel that louder solid state amps should have attenuation modes. Like, for example, the Black Spirit 200, you can cut that down to 2 watts, 20 or 200. And with this one, I think it would be practical to be able to cut it down to 1, 5, 20, whatever. Because then what you also have is the option to make the master volume control a bit easier to control effectively. If your maximum volume is 1 watt, you can kind of really dial in the amount of volume that you need in a bedroom-based setting, for example. If it's 0 to 100 watts, if you're playing at home, you're literally going to be right down at the bottom, and at some point you're going to make a tiny adjustment, a tiny little bit more volume, and you're going to blow your head off. So it's just it's that kind of thing.
True. Yeah, definitely.
But this looks great. Again, another thing for us to try. I guess this will be at the NAMM show, but it should be because that's 9 months away. But
one would sure hope. This says that it's available in 1 to 2 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, this kind of thing would look great on my shelf on the background of my videos.
Yes, it would.
Just saying orange if you're listening.
I really like the way that it has that orange aesthetic. It looks like the classic full-size tube heads.
Yeah,
it really looks good.
True. Oh yes, Diezel has finally released the VH Micro amp head, and it's part of the boutique amp distribution, some mini head series, and this is definitely a more high gain thingy. As you can see, the price is $299 at Thomann as of shooting this episode, and yeah, Rich has a video out on this thing featuring Trey, Xavier from GearGuards, and yeah, you know way more about this than I do, so please let us know, what is it?
Well, you've already given us a very good introduction to this, and I feel like I'm having some deja vu talking about it, but yes, the Diezel VH Micro is finally here. It is probably the worst kept secret of all of the mini amps. If anyone else has seen any of my other 42 Gear Street videos, I did one with the mini Bogner Ecstasy head, and there was a stack of 3 mini amps in that video. You had the Friedman BE Mini, which everyone knows about already. You had the Bogner, and you had another mini amp that was kind of covered with a crude cardboard flap, which we started referring to as the Cardboard Special. And it seemed when I released the Bogner video about a month ago that everyone already knew what the Cardboard Special was. They were telling me, yeah, there's a new Diezel mini head under there, isn't there? And I was like, I can't say anything until the date in my head, which was September 23rd, which would have been last week. And they all seem to know about it. I Googled Diezel VH Micro, Diezel VH Mini, and found out that, yeah, this amp had been effectively leaked in Japan for a few months. There's even a video, if you type it into YouTube, of someone testing out, I guess, an early version of it or a prototype at some kind of NAMM event in January or something. So it's been around for ages and ages. But anyway, the Diezel VH Micro is here. It's a small version of presumably the VH4, the most popular or the most well-known of the Diezel high amp full-size tube heads. And it continues the mini amps theme. So they have the Friedman, they have the Bogner, and now they have a Diezel. Presumably there will be more to come because mini amps is part of the boutique amp distribution series of companies. So there are other amp brands like Morgan that they have where we could imagine small things. There could be some Wampler stuff made into amps. Who knows? But there's plenty more from Diezel, from Bogner, and from Friedman that will presumably be getting made into smaller sizes soon. And Soldano, of course. Imagine if they did a Soldano Slow Mini. Yeah. But anyway,
maybe
so...
Tone King?
Yes, a mini Tone King. Now, that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know. With cleaner amps, it's kind of maybe less of an exciting thing to make a small, cheap version of something. But still, I would love to see a Tone King, like a Gremlin or something like that, even smaller. I would love to see a Friedman Dirty Shirley Mini. And if there is ever a Soldano Slow, which I'm 99.9% sure there will be, I'd love to try that one out as well. But anyway, these are tiny little amps. They weigh a couple of kilograms. They weigh about 4 pounds. They have one channel. They're pretty simple. So the Diezel VH Micro has a volume control. It has a 3-band EQ. It has a presence control, and it has a deep control for the lower parts of the tone, and it has a gain control. Obviously, that's about it. It's a 30-watt Class D power amp. It's solid state, obviously. You've got an effects loop on the back. You can plug it straight into a computer and record. I think, for me, what it is a super cool way of getting whatever percentage that is of the full-size Diezel VH4 tone into a tiny box and making it affordable for everyone. It's like if you really wanted to buy a Diezel and couldn't afford it, this is the perfect way to dip your toe into that water and try out that amp. And Trey and I, as you can see from the video, we had a lot of fun tweaking the knobs, getting some different sounds out. He was playing this ridiculous Ibanez 7-string baritone, and it handled it pretty well. I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, I'm not really a baritone metal type player in my day job, but I thought it sounded pretty good. And I would implore you all to watch the video, see what you think. Vlad, I would like to see you try this amp as well, because I know that you metal a bit more than I do.
I do indeed metal a little bit. And yeah, this is also like the VH4 is one of the amps like Metallica is known for as well. So if you want to get like that kind of tone, actually like just before shooting this episode, I actually watched Vector De Castro's video where he like really went for the Metallica thing. And yeah, it has that sound. So really cool little piece of gear. Like, yeah. The whole micro amp series is kind of exciting. I'm more excited about something like this compared to like a pedal that would kind of have that amp sound. So
yeah, I mean there are Diezel pedals, for example, which cost roughly similar to what this mini amp head costs. So it's kind of like now, well, you could go for the pedal. There's a bunch of different Diezel pedals, or you could go for this amplifier, which is a totally different thing. I mean, they look super cool. They look a lot more expensive than they are. And they feel good quality as well. And I just feel like it's a super cool little thing. I mean, for me personally, I do use a lot of pedals. I like pedals very much, but I can totally see myself in the next year or so collecting a couple of these mini amp heads because they're just so cool and fun to plug in. And I don't think I'm ever going to be in the position where I would want to or where I would be able to afford the full-size heads. So it makes total sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like a VH4 is such a specific type of amp for a sound that I might use like a few times a year. So unless like I really can afford luxuries like this, I wouldn't probably get that amp either. But getting like a mini head, it's what, €300, dollars. Yeah, this is very affordable. Really cool thing. Available in 3 to 4 weeks at Thomann.
Maybe, can you quickly, just while you're at Thomann, search for the Diezel VH4 pedal or something? Let's see how much that costs.
Yeah, there you go. VH4 pedal. There's okay, $279. But is there two versions of this? Because it also presented me with VH.
There have been many different versions of those pedals over the years. And so, that pedal is just 20 euros less than the mini head. And of course, it's going to sound different. And if you already have a clean amp that you use, there's the full-size Diezel VH4 head, which is closer to 3,000 euros than 300.
Yes.
2,900 right now. So it's literally 10 times the price of that mini amp.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it doesn't sound 10 times as good. I mean, on the other hand, if you showed up to a metal gig with the mini amp or the full-sized head, I think people would laugh at you 10 times more for having the mini amp. But once you plugged it in, and of course you can plug it directly into a PA, volume is not going to be a problem whatsoever. And these things are actually very loud. It's 30 watts at 16 ohms, I think they are. And that's loud enough to gig with in the vast majority of situations.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with all the in-ears and stuff people use nowadays, just makes sense. I've had the Hughes and Get Nano Amp series as well. Those were 20 watts. Again, kind of similar thing like Class D power amp, I think. Those things were loud. If you want to play in an apartment, those are extremely loud, actually.
Yep.
For that type of thing. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny that the Diezel VH4 pedal costs pretty much the same as the amp. And I gotta say, this is just so much cooler. It's like a real amp. And you don't need to have a pedal platform amp to use that. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
From the amps that have been released right now, I'm not sure which one I would get. Maybe I'm kind of intrigued by the Friedman right now, just because for the very recent Harley Benton ALS video I just released, I used the new X Fireman, which pretty much goes for the Friedman BE OD sound. That hot-rodded Marshall type of thing is amazing. So
yeah.
Out of the ones that, go ahead.
Yeah, at 42 Gear Street, I shot a video on the BE Mini as well with Perfecto de Castro, our good friend, and he made it sound absolutely amazing. He was playing it with a Friedman Strat type guitar. He did a lot of neck pickup stuff, and he tried to make it a bit less high gain than it often is, because the BE overdrive pedal, for me personally, it's got way too much in it. I use the Dirty Shirley overdrive pedal. I've got one of them, and I have the internal gain trim pot down as low as it'll go, and it still does too much gain for me. And the BE overdrive pedal has put me off in the past because of that. But hearing Perfecto de Castro play the BE Mini head in that way made me really want that too. And I think that of the three which are already out, that might be the one that I would also choose.
Yeah.
But who knows? That video with Perfecto will be coming out, I guess, next month or something like that. I got to get it edited and sorted. So, yeah. But they're great.
Looking forward to that.
And, next year, if there are going to be more things like a Soldano, like more Friedmans, maybe Tone Kings, maybe Morgans, there's going to be so much great choice. And I expect that other companies will start doing stuff like this, because it's just, this is going to take a lot of sales away from other companies, I think.
Yeah, and the thing is, these things also can work as is the term gateway to somebody who buys one of these. If at some point they actually have the funds, they might actually go for the bigger one as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of the times that's what happens. You get the budget version, then you get used to the sound. It becomes part of your guitarist identity, if you will. And if you suddenly have the means, you get you have an anniversary or something, you might go for the big head all of the sudden. That's how I've seen things like this happen many, many times in the past. So, yeah, from a business strategist standpoint, this is a great idea as well.
Yeah.
Jumping into the next thing, Supro has released the new Supro Royale 1x12 50-watt tube amplifier with super cleans, according to gearnews.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a clean amp with a lot of headroom. So it's basically a 1x12 combo that can be either Class A 35 watts or Class AB 50 watts. There's three 12AX7s and 12AT7 and a 12DW7. Doesn't a preamp tube? I don't know. And two 5881 power tubes in the power section. Sounds like a clean amp to me.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what it's going to be. A loud, clean amplifier.
Yeah. As with also Supros, it looks really cool. I like the design a lot. If we zoom in on here on YouTube, that like just the control panel is so beautiful.
Yeah, the design is lovely. It's very retro. I guess this is exactly how they looked back in the day. And these amps are going to appeal to a very specific kind of player, I think, aren't they? Definitely not for everybody in 2021, an amp like this, because if you just need a nice clean amplifier to play at home and you have limited volume levels that you could achieve, I believe that this is going to be kind of out of the question.
Yeah. Yeah, my question is like, who is this for? Like, what are the places where you can still use something like this?
I mean, they have a master volume control, but
that's
it's not to be played quietly, is it?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not. Seems like it has an effects loop. There's like a boost function as well. There's a built-in reverb. It has a lot of things in it. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, does it have built-in effects too, or is it just a bit of reverb?
There's a reverb and a boost, but I don't think there's anything else.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, Supro has done a couple of quite decent pedals in recent years. You know, they've done a reverb pedal, they've done a delay pedal, an analog delay, and they've been very well received. They're quite expensive for what they are, simple pedals, but well made, great sounds, etc. And it would have been interesting to see maybe the delay in this amp or something to differentiate it slightly, but I feel that, you know, there are Supro fans out there who will lap this kind of thing up.
Yeah. I mean, it's not super affordable.
No, I was going to say, $1,500 it's a kind of a mid-price. I'm assuming that these are made in the USA. Could that be a false assumption? I'm not sure. Can we see where they're built?
I don't remember seeing anything about this anywhere, but...
Can you see the back panel anywhere? It would be written on there, I guess.
No photos of the back panel, actually. Interesting.
Okay.
For this one, I'm guessing it's made in US, but I don't know. You
would think so,
can have a visual. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
But if you like vintage clean tones, something a bit different from Fender, Supro is a great choice. I agree with you totally, Vlad, where I'm kind of wondering, you know, where the best usage case is for amps like this, but for people who want it, it's the perfect choice. My last strong memory of Supro is unfortunately not a good one, because I remember they were at the second GitCon event at Warwick and Framers in Markneukirchen in the deepest, darkest depths of East Germany. And they had a little stand there alongside some of the other brands, and they had a really nice guy there from the USA who was kind of the rep for the amps and who was playing them, but he was playing them extremely loudly for the entire duration of the event. And, you know, it sounded great, and he was a great player, and as I said, a lovely guy. But after 4 days of having a cranked Supro amp in your face from about 6 or 7 meters away, you wanted to commit crimes to stop that noise. So that's my last memory of that.
Yep. Exactly. But I mean, looks cool. Would be fun to try one out. Don't know if we have a deal in Finland. So if somehow I end up being at NAMM 2022, then maybe there. We shall see.
Yeah, if NAMM happens next year, if it happens, it's still a big if. Imagine all the new gear that we've talked about since the last one that we're going to have to try out. There's going to be hundreds of videos that need to be made, or companies that need to be met. It's going to be amazing.
Jump to Joyo Band Amp series adds a Meteor II and Tweedy amps into its band amp lineup. And I have personal experience with most Joyo band amps. We shot a fun video with, I think it was with Colin in 2017, and the first GitCon. We were so young and beautiful that time. And now we're less young, but maybe even more beautiful. This is a cool amp range. And I think the version 2s of these all have 2 different channels with dedicated controls, unless I'm mistaken. And for the one that they're asking, these sound amazing. I have a Joyo Meteor amp demo on my channel, maybe even more than one demo, that is. And for the money, it sounds amazing. And it's super tiny, it's compact. I think you can use the line out and you don't have to plug in a cabinet and you can record with it and stuff like that. It's great. And at 20 watts, it's pretty damn loud if you put it through a cabinet. So, yeah, cool little release.
Yeah, these look cool. I remember your original videos with some of these, and I assume that these are even better, these Mark IIs. Yep. There is no retail price given on the article that we're looking at, but they're probably going to be,
that is true.
150 euros, 200 tops? So very, very affordable amplifiers. And as you say, they're 2-channel. They have a clean and a dirty channel with separate controls for each. So that's kind of cool. You know, you see much bigger, more expensive amps that share controls between 1 or 2 or 3 channels. And I personally always prefer having individual control of, let's say, the EQ stack for each channel. So this is kind of nice. Where would you put these in terms of kind of how modern or how vintage they sound? And what kind of distortion can people expect from them?
Well, the Meteor, they're not too subtle about it. Let's see if I can zoom this photo. Yeah, I can. So if we're looking at the Meteor and it says MIDI or like O and R and number like the Roman numeral 2 are highlighted, and this, like, they're not hiding the fact that this goes for the orange sound, and it's close-ish to the orange rock reverb sound. It goes for that sound, and it works really well. So, and I actually, like, one of my most popular videos on the channel is me comparing the orange, is it Tiny Terror? Like the smallest Tiny Terror?
Yeah, the Tiny Terror.
Yeah, comparing that to this, and like it's a bit more modern because the rock reverb sound is a bit more modern than like the. I'm not sure. Maybe they're going for the different channels of the amp or something like that. But like the Joyo Meteor is a bit more high gain, a bit more modern, but there's definitely like an orange flavor to it. And 2 channels makes it even more versatile. So well done.
Cool. And what about the Tweedy? I mean, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the Tweedy is a Fender amp.
Yes, they kind of allude to that. American like classic vintage tone. So yeah, and with the Meteor, they say like the distortion side of amp has a little bit of fuzz. Yes, which is kind of an orange thing as well. Yeah, this is a good range of amps. Very loud. I remember like even Phil X being impressed by these at that event. I think I switched one of the videos where he was trying this out. Has Bluetooth connection as well, so you can stream your backing tracks into it and stuff like that. So
yeah, very nice. I think that this area of the amplifier market, these small compact heads that are, you know, not pocket change, but cost between 100 and 250, 300 euros or dollars is really, really good right now. There's so many choices for people who want to do this. I mean, we've recently seen the mini amps from, you know, the boutique amp distribution company. So we've got Joyo's on the one hand, we've got the Friedman Mini BE if you want to go a bit more boutique in that range, and we've got the Bogner and the Diezel as well, and more to come from them. You've got Joyo, you've got other brands like Hughes and Kettner who do smaller amps, you've got the Orange, Tiny Terror. There's so many of them. So I think pretty much no matter what kind of guitar player you are these days, you've got a mini head that you can use. And they're very practical, aren't they? Like you said, I mean, they're super loud. I mean, 20 watts is going to be loud enough for most things. You probably wouldn't want to really rely on it to play a gig with, especially if you are playing with a loud drummer. But if it can be plugged directly into the PA as well, then no issues there whatsoever. Very, very cool. And it's kind of the situation where I can imagine people starting to build up collections of small amplifiers as they would have done with pedals in the old days.
Yeah.
You know, if you want that Friedman BE sound, for example, instead of buying that pedal, you can buy a full mini-sized BE amp head. And if you want...
Actually, yeah. Which might actually bring you closer to that, like the kind of real amp version sound than a pedal, depending on what your amp you're using, for example. So...
Yeah, that's the other question, of course. But it's such a great way of dipping your toe into another kind of genre, if that's what you want to do. If you were, for example, interested in going for the orange rock reverb and you wanted to test it out in a way, and if this Meteor is modeled on that, you can test one of those out. And if that works for you, consider going for the full-sized rock reverb.
Yep, pretty much. We're checking out the Thomann website, and like there's at least two Mark II versions of this amp. So the Joyo Zombie, which is Mesa Boogie, just saying, and then there was the Jackman, which I think went for something else that I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, basically like 149 euros. That's cheaper than most of the pedals out there, like high quality, high gain drives. So
yeah, these are
cool
solid state. But analog amps, right? They're not modelers, I assume. Yeah,
not modeling solid state, but and analog. Cool little amps. Hopefully, I get to try this out somewhere at some point. And there you go. Those were some of our favorite amp news we covered in 2021. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And as always, if you enjoy what we do and want to support what we do, there's a bunch of ways to do that in the show notes. So be sure to check those out. And as we do here in CatPick Fridays land, buy podcast and see you in 2022. Cheers.